This is the Dick and Conversation podcast. I'm Elissa. If this is your first time joining me, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you've been listening to me for a while, for almost 2 years maybe, then welcome back. You can reach me on my socials. Instagram, Dick and Conversation underscore podcast. My Facebook page is Dick and Conversation podcast. My YouTube, like, subscribe, and share is the Dick and Conversation podcast channel. And you can also contact me through dickandconvo@gmail.com and bsky.social. I'm sorry, dickandconvo.bsky.social because I'm no longer on the Twitter X, Twitter, whatever there was. We're not on that. So I also thank you for listening to me. Amazon, iHeart, Pandora, or Spotify, or if you're watching me on the tube of you're looking at me. So once again, welcome back. I've been out for a while and I haven't been doing my episodes, regularly like I should or just could. Maybe couldn't really because I've been working a lot. Like I say, I do have a 9 to 5 job. This is my passion project, and I would love to do this for a living, but that won't pay the bills and keep the roof over my head and keep food on the table. So I have to work in corporate America doing what I do. Which brings me to my topic that I'm going to talk about tonight. Okay, we all saw the Just Hilarious. Well, you may not have seen it. The whole Just Hilarious Lauren Larosa thing on the Breakfast Club, and I watched that painfully. It was very painful, probably because it triggered me. It triggered me, and the funny part is, I had been watching it happen to her for a while. I could recognize where everyone kept saying, "Oh, Jess isn't talking. She's not saying anything. She's not there. She's always gone." And I was thinking, yeah, that's her not quietly quitting, but withdrawing because Lauren was there. And if you're Jess with the mess, but Lauren's doing the report and you're Jess, naturally you're going to feel a bit, what the hell's going on? And it was triggering me because if you work in corporate America, or even if you don't work in corporate America, you've seen these types of things happen. Um, I'm going to talk about my experiences. This is my experiences from my account of what happened, because I have had things like that happen where I had a position and I felt I earned my position. And I was told by company leadership that I had earned my position and I was great at it. And you were a great pick. You were selected because of all these great qualities you have. You're knowledgeable, you're engaging, you're exciting, and you would do well. And all of these policies and processes and procedures, and you know how to do this, and you can relate, and I was selected for a position. And I had one particular group that I was responsible for. I do the reporting, I'm their leader, I do the scheduling, I make the decisions on who's promoted, who's not, who's supposed to be disciplined, things like that. And I get it that I didn't have a lot of experience being in that particular leader role, but it was going to be where you shadow this individual and this individual will show you all the things that you needed to know. Yes and no. I shadowed the individual and they were telling me some of the things, but at the same time, not necessarily saying, "Hey, listen, you need to do this report this time. You need to go here. This is what you need to do. This is how you find the information. This is how you run the report. This is how often you run the report. And once the report downloads, this is the information you need to look for. This is the data you need to isolate." That information was not given to me. That type of training was not given to me. And I was in this role where I had this huge group, and another group under that group was even bigger. So as I'm meeting with company leadership and we're in these meetings and I'm responsible for this thing, the person who's supposed to shadow me is also in the meeting. and it's about my group. So when time comes, they ask a question about the group that I'm over. They wouldn't ask me. They asked him. And I'm thinking, well, that's kind of odd. If I'm the leader of this group and I'm over these people and I'm responsible for this department and I, do all this kind of thing, why are they asking him? And little bit by little bit, the responsibilities of my job were being cascaded to him. And I can see this happening. Like, this is something that I used to do. And I'm asking the question, like, am I doing okay in this position? Are there things I need to do? Are there things I need to be more efficient at? Are there things that I'm not doing that I should be doing? And the answer is no, Alyssa, you're doing great, doing fabulous. We're so glad you're here. Everyone loves you. But at the same time, I'm seeing my workload being handled by someone else. So, in looking at Jess Hilarious, if it's your shtick, it's the thing that brought you to the show, it's the thing you were doing before the show, but now you're hearing it's Jess Hilarious with Loren Larosa. Like, okay, now I know I'm not going crazy because that's how the same thing was with me. I'm going into these conference rooms. We're going to discuss the group that I'm managing, but all questions are being posed to this other person. Or, we need to know this information, and they're asking the other person. Or tasks that need to be completed are assigned to this other person. So when I'm asking my leadership is, am I doing okay? And they say, oh no, you're fine. Things are great. Now, I'm no fool. I have my moments where I ain't the brightest bulb in the box. Not what they say, the strongest strand in the dispensary. But I can tell, like, this isn't right. And I'm asking these questions and I'm not getting the correct answer, but I still see that, my job is solely being, moved over to someone else. At a particular point, you have to, as I say, burn the house down in order to build it back up correctly. And what did I do? Damn right, I torched it. I had a meltdown. I lost it. Like, okay, I need to know what's going on because this is what's happening. Like, I get that I'm an order taker and a decision maker in this particular time, but the decisions that were being made were taking place in meetings that I wasn't in, and it was about me, and it was things that I should be doing, should not be doing. How are decisions being made for my career, and I'm not even the person that's making the decision? So after I torched the house with my meltdown, much like Jess Hilarious, things got the way they were supposed to be because that just never seemed correct to me. If I'm in this position and this person is doing my job, what the hell are y'all doing? Somebody tell me something. Tell me something now. And then come later to find out I was almost about to be demoted back to my previous position before I got this leadership role. And they were like, well, you just weren't quite doing, what we need you to do. And I remember talking to one of my coworkers and they said, Alyssa, the same thing happened to me. I was like, really? Like, yeah, the same thing happened to me. And they had to torch the house too to say it's not fair. You're telling me I need to win this race, but you're not telling me when the race starts. You're not telling me what direction to run. You're not telling me how fast to run. You're not telling me how far to run, but you want me to win this race. And when my coworker gave me that example of what it felt like, I was like, that's exactly what this feels like to me. This is exactly what it feels like. I have all these responsibilities for all of these people in these groups, but I'm not meeting the expectations when no one has told me what the expectations are. Or I'm watching my job get handed over to another person and no one is telling me why. So watching that whole thing on the Breakfast Club, yeah. And, I looked at it this way also. They're two different individuals. The Breakfast Club is not a news show. So when I read people on social media saying, well, Loren is polished, she's a journalist, she does report the news better, she should. She's a trained reporter. She went to school for journalism, as far as I know. She hasn't been. No, don't hold me to it. But she's a journalist. She comes from TMZ, which is a show that's constant news reports. The Breakfast Club, where Charlemagne gives DJ Envy a bust of his butt. Really? And you have all three of y'all, people who say three of y'all, are you finished? Are you done? That's not necessarily what I would consider a news show. That's entertainment that occasionally have reports. That's not the same. So, yes, they would be different. But Jess was hired for being Jess with the mess. They weren't actual reports. They were, she would read a news story and give her opinion, which is what I was kind of feeling. So as she's going off and she's saying, hey, this producer said this and this producer said that, and I asked this producer, that lets me know like the producers are the ones making the decision. So when I saw a lot of people saying, oh, Charlemagne and Envy, they needed to do this, no, they're order takers. They're not decision makers. They go with what's told to them. The people behind the door, behind those closed doors, those producers, those are the decision makers, Loren being one of them. So Loren kind of was in and looking at it from the outside. Loren would she was in the know a little bit more than what we know because she's a producer. She's a producer. She's a decision maker. So I was just like watching this like, baby, I've been there. And I can't even imagine if you are a woman and you go out on maternity leave and you come back and your job has been moved away, which made me think that's real DEI. People are like, oh, she shouldn't have got pregnant. So since we're having this whole cultural battle about DEI and things like that, having been a person who had to hire several people, several times over the years, that's what true DEI is. True DEI is looking at saying you are the best person for the position, but you happen to be pregnant right now. I can't say I'm not going to hire you because you're pregnant. I'm saying because you're a woman and you happen to be pregnant, I can't hold that against you because you are the best candidate. And I still need to have the best candidate in this position. That's what it is. It's not saying, I need to have 5 Black people and I need to have 4 women and I need to have 2 veterans. That's not what that was. Having been in that situation, it's always not, well, I'm going to hire her because she's Black. No, or, she is the best candidate, but she's pregnant. So it doesn't make sense for me to hire her because she'll be gone in a moment. No, it means because she is pregnant, I can't say she can't get this position because of her being a woman. I can't hold that against her. That's true DEI, meaning because you were a veteran. And yes, there are times you have to go to counseling for mental health. I can't hire you because you're a veteran, because there are times that you need to leave. No, you're the best candidate. I still should hire you because I can't hold you being a veteran having mental health issues against you. That's real DEI. So when people are like, oh, she shouldn't have got pregnant. Oh, she was pregnant. They shouldn't have gave her the job. You can't hold someone being pregnant, a woman being pregnant, against her if she's the best candidate for the position. I wish people knew that. But that's how corporate America can be. That was just how it was in that particular organization. And then I had the opposite where I worked in another corporate America company where they was all about the feelings. It's like, fuck your facts. This is how I feel. I feel that we should have done it this way. I feel that your team does that. My persons feel that you're being too hard. I feel your email was worded too strongly. I feel your email had too many big words. Now that was the one that threw me off. I was like, you gotta be effing kidding me. My email had too many big words. And I had even went and spoke to my leader about that. Like, okay, it's like, well, Alyssa, we need you to dumb down your emails. We need you to kind of like just do it in bullets. Don't use big words. What? So you want me to throw aside my education and my professionalism and my experience to dumb me down. Now, don't get me wrong. There are times where, a word can be too big, or, you're caught up in what, like people do about TI. You have all these big words and the content is lost because you're trying to have these large words to make it sound really important and extremely educational. Yeah. But if I'm saying we're having systemic issues, there's something wrong with the system. You know what that means. That's not a really big word. So I've had that too, where it was about how they felt, what I was making them feel. And I come from the corporate America background where it's all about the data. If you have numbers and your numbers match what you're seeing, and you're going by, okay, this is happening continuously because the numbers are showing this and the numbers are showing this consistently for 6 to 9 months, that's my job. You can't sit there and say, well, your numbers are wrong because we feel it makes us feel bad. Eff your feelings. And having worked in that environment, baby, them people did not like me. They did not like me. It was about, and I'm going, but it's nothing personal. I like you all. It's just the numbers. This is what I'm going by. I'm making my decision based on the numbers. I'm making my decision based on the data. I'm making my decision based on the trends and reports and not in that environment, baby. F your data and F you too. That's kind of the feeling I had. And I knew it was bad when I end up in my office bawling my eyes out, going, what have I done? I'm just trying to do my job. I'm just trying to make everybody else's job easier. And I'm just pulling numbers and trying to help going by the reporting. And it was a lot of women. Baby, them women was like, bitch, who is you? You could go back where you came from. And guess what? I went back where I came from. I remember having such a hard time at work, and I knew when it was time to go because the young man, the strapping young man that I was seeing at the time, I would call and tell him how my work day was. And I remember telling him, telling him, hey, this happened at work, where I just sent an email saying there were a few people who had missed turning in the report. But when they sent it out, sent the information out, went out, they were like, you all are messing up Alyssa's report. And she said that it hasn't been handed in on time. And I was like, I didn't say anything like that. I was just saying, hey, these are ones that are missing. I told him that. He was like, yeah, cuz you need to find another job. So when he said, because this guy's kind of really, it's always a guy in my stories. I don't know, it's always a guy in my story. So when this guy was like, because he's very laid back, kind of reluctant to give opinions, and he will listen and be like, so what you want to do? So what happened? He doesn't give opinions, but when I told him about that day, he was like, yeah, cuz you need to find another job. I was like, say less, bro. Say less, bro. I was starting to find another job. So I took my ass right back where I came from, where we follow the numbers. But being in corporate America, come to think of it, he talked me out of quitting my other job too, because he said, I'm tired of hearing how stressed you are about your job every day. Y'all know I gotta have my lemon water. My cup. Man. I turned 50. So he was tired of hearing how stressed I was every day. And he was like, look, I'm tired of hearing how stressed you are every day. So you need to either go to your HR and tell them to increase your wages where you can handle the stress and at least it's worth it. Or you need to start looking for somewhere else to go because I'm tired of hearing about it. You dating this young, strapping young lad, as he was back then, not as young as he was, and you stressing them out with your day, Yeah, it's time to pack it up. And just be like, well, he's sick of hearing about it. I'm sick of telling him about it. He's tired of me yelling and screaming and crying. And he talked me into quitting my job. Then I went to the other job where they was like your data. Then he told me to quit that one too. So I quit both of those jobs. They were good learning experiences, though. I wouldn't trade them for nothing in the world. I met some amazing people from both jobs that I now have as friends. It's funny how later on in life, and I'm at 51, approaching 52, how you meet people that are your coworkers, and I guess because of gravitational pull of life, they end up being friends. I was talking to someone the other day, and they said I still have all my friends from elementary school. I still have friends from elementary school, and I'm like, I don't. I have friends. I know them. But to say that I'm friends and speak to them regularly, and the ones I do the girl trips with, they're from my coworkers. Those are my coworkers. So it's funny how you get to a job and you develop these relationships with these people. And some of them are young. I had one coworker, a couple coworkers. I'm like young enough to be their mom. Actually, my best friend's like that too. Almost young enough to be their mom. But we developed these amazing relationships through probably trauma bonding of corporate America. If nothing else, corporate America will have your ass trauma bonded with coworkers, develop friendships, which I counted as a blessing. It's a blessing. Some of them lessons, some of them blessings, but I've counted it as a blessing. But I did want to touch on that just a little bit tonight after having watched who I felt sorry for. Poor Jess Hilarious go through what I went through. And I get it. Loren, she's like I said, she is professional. She's a journalist. And in all honesty, I never thought that she fit in that because she is a journalist. She should be in a news environment where it is true reporting, true information, things like that. And she probably needs her own show where she's the lead and there are two additional co-workers that are somewhat kind of underlings that follow her lead. I think that would be better because I think she does have, and she's a bit argumentative, but that's just, she's young. She argues every point. So she was saying she talks over me. She talks over everybody, guess and all. But that's just young. And she comes from the environment, TMZ. They're just very, they're trying to get their news out, trying to get their information out, get themselves out. I get it. That's the environment that she comes from. So I always thought that she belonged in a different environment. But I had to speak on this because, baby, I've had that corporate America experience where you are watching your job get handed over to someone else and they're making the decisions and you become less of a decision maker, more of an order taker, and they just make the decisions about you without you. So I love the job that I am in now. I love the team. So I'm in a sweet spot. Right now, I'm in a real sweet spot, and I don't have to call complaining and crying here because you need to quit because time you find another job. I think I'm kind of in a sweet spot and good where I am for right now. But hopefully, this was entertaining, made you giggle, made you think of it, and it didn't create some type of flashbacks where you're like, damn, that happened to me too, and you feel bad about it. Learn from my experiences. Being a single mom, but I didn't quit those jobs until I had another one because I had babies to feed because I was on my own. I was on my own. All I was having was dick and conversation coming and going in. That was when I was dealing with the swamp puppies until I met that one. But this has been Dick and Conversation. I'm Melissa. Thank you for listening to me on Amazon, iHeart, Pandora, Spotify, or watching me on the tube of you. Once again, my socials, my Instagram is Dick and Conversation _podcast. My Facebook page is Dick and Conversation Podcast. My YouTube channel, like, subscribe, share, is Dick and Conversation. My email is dickandconvo@gmail.com. And dickandconvo.bsky.social is my blue sky. I appreciate you joining me. See you next time. Maybe next week. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.